Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Willow's Weather Briefing. Today is Saturday, June 28th, 2025. Our severe weather sequence continues across the upper Midwest as multiple upper level disturbances impinge on a frontal boundary near the area, bringing the threat of large giant hail and a few tornadoes. Another smaller sector of a severe weather threat exists in the Northeast, coincident with similar mechanisms, primarily for damaging winds. Heading into next week, a cold front is expected to push through the eastern U.S., giving us rain and storms for the upcoming days. Summertime pulse thunderstorms are expected in the southeast throughout the afternoon, and monsoonal moisture continues to impinge into New Mexico. Above average temperatures in the central to northern plains and the mid Atlantic, below average temperatures for northern New England. So here are some pictures, courtesy of a local news station, KFYR, of the tornadoes near Bismarck, North Dakota yesterday. Luckily, the supercell trailed pretty close to the city, but didn't impact any portion of the city of Bismarck, luckily. But beautiful tornado up there in the northern plains yesterday. So looking at our storm reports, let's zoom out here. Scattered flash flood reports across the eastern U.S. and damaging wind reports. Our severe weather threat was focused, of course, up here. Damaging wind reports and some hail reports here in South Dakota. The majority of our large hail and also tornado reports are focused here in North Dakota. As you can see, these tornado reports tracked through basically one supercell across southern North Dakota, close to the city of Bismarck. Here is our drought monitor map. These solid lines demarcate the areas of greatest concern with drought. Pause the video if you would like to look at that. And here's our current watches and warnings. Pretty quiet across the eastern United States, much needed after the active flash flooding and severe weather threats we've had lately. But we do have an extreme heat warning over here for the desert southwest for temperatures exceeding well over 110 degrees. Here is our current surface frontal map. We do have a low pressure system moving towards the Quebec province in Canada. I will continue to move off to the east and bring a cold frontal system with this. That will be the cause of our severe weather threat in the northeast. Over here in the Midwest, we do have some frontal boundaries. We will have some upper level disturbances moving through the area, which will be the impetus for our severe weather threat today in the upper Midwest. We also have some additional tropical moisture moving into the southeast, which will help us get some pulse thunderstorm activity over here throughout the southeast. By tomorrow, this low pressure system in the northeast will move off the coast, out of our sights, out of our minds, but a low pressure system will begin to bring these frontal boundaries to the east, which will move our disturbed weather threats towards the eastern U.S., and that will continue throughout early next week. That cold front will just sweep across the eastern U.S., bringing us some disturbed weather towards the east coast in early next week, and then be out of our hairs by midweek. This entire time, we do expect Gulf moisture to continue to bring pulse thunderstorm activity, as well as some monsoonal moisture, especially midweek next week, into the desert southwest. But it looks pretty quiet next week over here in the upper Midwest region, as well as most of the plains, until late next week, where we'll have another low pressure system move through this region. Looking at our excessive rainfall outlook, we have no slight risks of excessive rainfall throughout the next 5 days. Most of these marginal risks just follow our areas of greatest moisture return and lift. So day one, widespread marginal risk throughout the southeast and also northeast associated with that severe thunderstorm threat and that low pressure system moving through Quebec. And of course, our marginal risk over here in the upper Midwest associated with those frontal boundaries lingering over there, and monsoonal moisture over here in the desert regions of the southwest. Same thing day two, frontal boundary begins to sweep across the eastern U.S., and these marginal risks sort of follow that, or the pulse thunderstorm risk here in the southeast. And that will continue off to day four. Frontal boundary is now off to the east and then moves out of the U.S. by day five. And we have a rejuvenation of convective threats here in the Midwest. Pretty marginal, though. And this marginal risk down here in the Southwest is associated with an expansion of that monsoonal moisture to the west towards the Sonoran Desert region. Day 1 fire weather outlook, elevated fire weather risk for the Snake River Valley in Idaho, as well as portions of southern Wyoming. And there is no day 2 or extended range fire weather outlook. Looking at our tropical weather outlook, we do have a 50% chance of cyclone formation in 7 days, though this is expected to move inland pretty quickly, or at least relatively quickly, into the eastern coast of Mexico. This will bring additional feed for the monsoonal moisture up here in the desert southwest, but this is not expected to form into a tropical storm or hurricane um, and impact the continental United States. Here is our thunderstorm outlook. Here is midday today. Our highest chances of thunderstorms are concentrated here around the mid-south, mid-Mississippi River Valley into the southeast. By the afternoon, this huge expansion of thunderstorm threat is associated with those summertime pulse thunderstorms. Pretty marginal in terms of severe weather risk. By the evening, we do have an expansive risk up here, both in the high plains where we get that upslope flow into the higher elevations, as well as the frontal boundary situated over here in the upper Midwest. Here's our severe weather outlook for today. 2 areas of slight risk, one over here in the northern Midwest and one over here in the Northeast. The one of focus today is this risk up here, where we have a few tornadoes possible, especially in areas of central Minnesota. This includes cities like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Plymouth, Minnesota, and other portions of western Minnesota, and even a little bit into eastern South Dakota. Wind risk, both sectors, both in the Northeast and in the upper Midwest, are expecting some damaging winds. And large giant hail, primarily concentrated in eastern South Dakota into central Minnesota. This includes St. Cloud, Minnesota, Watertown, South Dakota, Wilmar, Minnesota. Day 2 outlook, the slight risk moves a tad east associated with that frontal boundary shifting a bit to the east. Primary risk is damaging winds. And finally, day 3, the frontal boundary continues to migrate eastward, marginal risk for portions of the Midwest to lower Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, and also over here in the mid-Atlantic regions. So here is our heat risk for today. Main heat is concentrated over here in the mid-Atlantic to Delmarva region. Temperatures over there are expected to reach up to the mid-90s, as well as pretty warm weather over here in the Great Lakes region, as well as some hot weather for the southwest. Temperatures are expected to reach well above 110 degrees here in the desert regions of the southwest. Going further into the week, heat is supposed to increase in intensity throughout the western United States, as well as overspread the eastern United States, but nothing of big concern. Perhaps over here in the desert southwest, temperatures will reach extreme heat criteria into above or around 110, 115 degrees. Moving into midweek, that cold front sweeps across the eastern United States, mitigating our extreme heat risk, though we do have some heat still lingering off into the western United States. And by late week, next week, we do have some heat building over here in the southeastern United States. Here is our extended range hazards outlook. Hazardous heat expected for portions of the mid-Atlantic, southwest, and also portions of the northwest. Some heavy rain possible in the extended range for the Gulf Coast, and also that monsoonal moisture over here in the desert southwest. Here's our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, July 3rd through 7th, above average for much of the southeast and also portions of the northern plains, below average for the southwest. Here's our 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, above average associated with that monsoonal moisture in the southwest and also expected above average precipitation for much of the western to central United States, near normal for the rest of the United States. And finally, looking at our HREF paintball output, we do expect storms to form across the Midwest by the afternoon hours, perhaps at around 23 to 0Z, which would be around 6 to 7 p.m. Central across the Minnesota region. The pulse thunderstorm activity throughout the eastern United States is expected around the afternoon hours, perhaps noon or later. We expect these pretty much pseudo random pulse thunderstorm activity over there. The thunderstorm activity in the northeast is expected perhaps a bit earlier than the thunderstorm activity over here in the Midwest, perhaps at around 2 p.m. Eastern time. We expect those thunderstorms to start to pop up over there. And that is going to be it for today's weather briefing. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And as always, if you want any specific information regarding your area, please refer to your local broadcast or National Weather Service meteorologists. Thank you and have a great day.